please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.
Welcome back to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Jeff Erickson. I'm here with Mike the Mouth, also Mike Massotto. So you drafted from the wheel, from the 15th spot in the main against me on Saturday last week, against Casey Cha in 13, Vlad in 11. Really good teams in this.
That ended up being my fifth choice. I wanted 1 through 4. I didn't get it. My fifth choice was 15. I ended up at 15 for this draft.
I ended up with a lot of Dansby Swanson. I see you got him in our draft as well. Is that a target for you, or is that just like the last of a category?
No, that in that particular case, well, I already had Torres there, but I was just going best available at that point for batting average and speed and some power. So that was the pick there. You know, sometimes you take what the draft gives you, and Swanson was the best person to take at that point. I didn't really need to get another shortstop. I had one, but in that particular case, but I do have a ton of Dansby Swanson this year, and everywhere, and he's gone up over the course of the season. So I have anywhere from like the 6th to 8th round, 9th round I see a drop to. But yeah, Swanson was the pick. Trying to get these guys. You always want to get the guy before they pop, right? And that was my famous Trevor Story story. I mean, he made me a lot of money the year he went blew up. So you want to get those guys that are gonna be there, And there's a lot of guys in this team that are like that, And that's where Keston Hiura came in there. I mean, he had struggles, but the guy was an elite prospect. The guy's like, everybody was all over this guy. You're gonna write him off because of a short season and the striker rate, or you're gonna you gotta go for it. You go big or go home is what I always say. If you're timid in these things, and you don't want to take risks and you don't want to reach a little bit, you're not gonna win. Or just because those you can't always draft the conservative team of the boring guys, Chris Liss, and try to win. Your league. It's not gonna happen. So sometimes you have to take some chances and get away from the David Prices of the world, which if anybody that's been listening out there, I've been saying don't draft David Price since early in the season. So I'll take a victory lap on that. Players like that are going to hurt you over time because for various, whether there's age or injury risk or, usage or whatever, mental issues, there's going to be a problem. So yeah, but Swanson there was the pick for me. I have a lot of him this year.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, and another guy that I share an affinity with is Jose Urquidy that you got in the 11th round. In the 11th round, of all these pitchers that got pushed up, he didn't really. This is about where he goes. And I saw so many other pitchers did get pushed up. Maybe that was the point in the draft where kind of it calmed down a little bit. But I liked Urquidy almost as much as Framber before the injury. That's where I was with that. I know Urquidy didn't have the strikeouts last year, but he had everything else, and he had it prior to last year. And last year was super weird for him.
Yeah, another high skills guy like Woodruff, and strikeouts may not be there, but they're on the rise. They're showing some signs of that as well too. He could take that next leap, and I was happy to get them there as a third starter. And the shocking thing is, I couldn't believe was your guy Molly that fell where he was. He's never. In every draft, things you catch up sometimes. Like if you feel you're falling behind, like I felt in the beginning, like, oh my God, with these hitters, I was getting a little behind there, and then it all caught up. Right around where Urquidy started happening, where the players I got in there, and Molly just falling. What was the end of the beginning of the 14th round? Yeah. He never got. I mean, I got him in the 10th, 9th, 10th. You had to get him if you wanted him. To get them there, that was a boon for me. I thought to get him there, so I just jumped on that all over there too. Yeah, and. The
theme for this draft to me was like you had to figure out where you could find value because so many things got pushed up. That mean by consequence something has to fall, right? And for me, it looked like it was like the old and boring outfielder types. And then the Yordan Alvarez, Charlie Blackmon picks for me 9 and 10. I've spent a little bit of bandwidth talking about that, but they weren't targets coming in. But I mean, you got to be prepared to be able to take it what the draft gives you at times too.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, those aren't my favorite guys. I mean, I guess those are guys that. Well, I mean, look, only Alvarez because is he elite? Sure, he's elite. Is he? But the problem is, we always go back to it's the injury risk. That's a complete boomer bust. And what do you have to lose there at 9th round? I mean, that's probably always places I've seen it go. I mean, Blackmon I would never touch. I understand the batting, but I just think he's every year consistently going down. But that's fine. It's a judgment call. You're going to take him there. I mean, I made it taking Dylan Carlson there. I think you regret that.
That was my either or, by the way. It really was either him or Carlson.
Yeah, because I just would go. I would just gone for this, swung for the fences there, and went with him with the stolen base upside and whatever. I think that the talent there, I would have went for him there instead. But whatever, that's just, nitpicking there at that point with the base you had. So yeah, once in a while you got to just take a guy that the draft gives you at that point, and you did it. You got my guy. I mean, I'm a big Christian Walker guy.
Yep.
Later, that's a great pick in the 13th round. I don't know why people are off Christian Walker a little bit, letting him draw third. I've seen him 15th round. I've seen him 16th round. I mean, when are you going to get a guy with that kind of batting average and that kind of batted ball profile and that kind of power and some steals and plays first base, right? And that late. And people just I don't understand with the aversion. Sometimes you take the boring guy, that got all those skills and just say that I'll slip him right in there. It's perfect right there. So you're not going to get that kind of guy like that late too. I would have taken him if he had come down.
I have a lot of him. I have him in a lot of places. He's not old, but he is kind of boring, I guess. He's boring name even. I don't know, but Diamondbacks aren't exactly a hot profiling team. I think that might have something to do with it there. I don't know, but I find he's a very good building block to get in the middle rounds of the draft. I get him a lot. So that I was very happy with that one. I have a lot of him. Who do you have the most of? Who's frequent flyer on Mike the Mouse teams?
Oh man, you're asking me on 4 hours whatever sleep,
or just you don't have to have the exact count, but just like guys you frequently end up with.
You want on the hitter side or the? I mean, I have on the hitter side. Hitters. I mean, I have a ton of Kyle Schwarber this year.
Okay.
These late guys that are I think that that owe us that everybody's darling that's now off the radar.
Yep.
Kyle Schwarber was a 9th round pick, but all of a sudden now he's on the trash heap and he's a 13th, 14th round guy. Now he's going to play. He's playing every day. He's going to be in Washington. Great lineup. So I have a ton of Kyle Schwarber. I have a ton of your boy Jesse Winker. Last year I think the injuries hurt him a little bit. He was just showing signs of being that amazing guy. So I got a lot of him later. I got a lot of Alex Verdugo. Going this year, I wear in the top of that Boston lineup. The batting average, I think there's some a power upside potentially there, some speed, a ton of runs. So I have a lot of him in terms of Hill. I mean, I'll die on the Sam Hilliard Hill this year. I'm sure late for the power and speed. Hopefully late breakout in course. I have a lot of Hilliard.
It's interesting. You got Hampson and Hilliard in our draft, which you kind of got some bases covered. Of course, you want them both to play. You want Hampson to play second and Hilliard in center would be ideal. But we've all gone through that whipsaw a little bit with Hampson before and Hilliard. Some of us last year, but that's not a bad hill to die on. We can see what that happening.
Yeah, exactly. So those are some of my main guys. If I had the other drafts up in front of me, I'll tell you as I go through. But those are some of my big. And I started getting some Kellenic late as you went. You guys, just because people send him down, they think they make it sound like he's gonna be down to July. Look, I think the organization's leverage. They have no choice but to bring this guy. The first, second that he's available to come up, which would be 3 weeks into the season, right? So 3 weeks into the season, and you're gonna get a 5-category guy. Yeah. Right. I mean, the guy he's a star. I mean, there's no doubt. Thank you, New York Mets and Brody Van Wagenen, you moron. If you're out there listening, a big shout out to the idiot Van Wagenen, for giving up Kellenic for freaking Edwin Diaz, and who was the other stiff he got?
Robinson Cano.
Robinson Cano.
That's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much for that. So otherwise, can you imagine Kellenic in the Mets lineup right now? I mean, that would just be like absurd having him out on that lineup along with the rest of that squad. But I'm not bitter about that or anything. But
I can tell. I'm glad you were able to have a chance to finally talk about it after all these years. I know you've been staying silent about that, so that's appreciate there. Hey, we're going to talk about your pitchers in a second there, but first, quick note from our friends at Stable Duel. Baseball has always been America's pastime, but a close second is horse racing, and we've got the best way to get in on the action. Stable Duel brings a new way to play the races against your friends. Similar to what we know in fantasy football and baseball, you select your team or stable of horses and compete against other stables for big money prizes. Watch your stable move up the leaderboard as your horses accumulate points. It would be weird for houses. Accumulate points based on where they finish the race. The app is free to download and they offer free games so you can learn how to play at zero risk. Don't know anything about horse racing? Don't worry. The app has all you need to know with free data on each horse's record, as well as a risk number, speed number, and value number for your best selections. This is the first game of its kind in horse racing, and you don't want to miss out. Download the Stable Duel app now and get in the game. Play, race, win with Stable Duel. Mike, you play the ponies at all?
No, I do not.
Nor do I. I go once every other year to Santa Anita because it's like 5 minutes from my house, and it's beautiful, and it's a good way to spend the day with the kids, and I'll spend like $20, and That's all I do. I don't know anything about it, but
I don't know anything about the horses, and I said, but I just have no interest in horse racing or any gambling. No space. So people, as you go to Vegas, I barely gamble. I said all my money's in fantasy baseball.
what's
When
the
you're
fun?
putting this kind of when you're putting 30, 40, whatever it is, 30 something thousand bucks in fantasy baseball, I'm not gonna mess around just throwing money out there on betting. And I never understand the concept of betting on animals. Okay, it's like these are not let's
Right.
bet on it like this, dogs or you're throwing money to see what an animal's going to do. I just don't see the concept of that all whatsoever. They're like it seems to me that that's like a complete crapshoot. Like I don't get it, but some people love.
And the odds are so they're opaque. They're very difficult to figure out. So yeah, I get it. I'm with you on that.
Great job, just losing your sponsor right there. That's great that we just destroyed horse racing now.
Yeah, well, I have an edit button, so we'll see about that. But
no, you got to leave it. We don't edit anything out. We leave everything in. Yeah. Let's go.
All right, we do have to. We're going to take one more break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Mike's pitching, his stable of pitching, if you will, and we'll have some other anecdotes and just war stories from the NFBC as we wrap this up. Stay tuned.
Please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.